to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Here. Okay, first order of business is roll call, Ms. Emily.
John Congdon,
Here.
Jason McConnell, Jason Tarno, Gary Tilson,
Here.
Kevin Lawrence.
Here. Yeah. Mr. McConnell was just recently released from the hospital, so I really did not expect him to be here tonight. But he could be listening in, and he does have all the packet information, so. Now. Okay, next order of business is our minutes from the April 9th, 2026 meeting. Everybody get a chance to look them over.
I'll move to approve the minutes. I second.
Any discussion? Minutes. No discussion. All in favor of the minutes from April 9th, 2026, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. 3-0, minutes are approved. Changes to agenda. I don't have any changes. Does anybody else wish any changes to our agenda?
No.
No, John?
I do not.
Do not. Moving on. We now open public comments on agenda items only. We do have actually 4 agenda items. The 3 of them are public hearings. If it's a comment about one of the items for the public hearing, which is PM Brands, Quantum AG, or our best amendment, if you would keep those comments till the public hearing portion, it makes things go a whole lot smoother. And that way, if there's questions, we can answer them. Somebody else can get answers right at the same time. The only other thing is a status update on our zoning 78 ordinance review. If anybody wants to discuss that. No, I'll close public comments then. We'll move on. Old business, that would be the status update on our zoning 78. We got through the first module last month. Our next meeting is May 27th at 6 p.m. over at the Senior Center. And that's a committee we have that's going through our antique zoning ordinance because we did a new master plan. We're cleaning up the zoning ordinance that's got some old language, old classifications and stuff in there and making it agree with 2026 instead of 1989. So the favorite joke was done on a typewriter. So now it's going to be on a computer. And it'll have hyperlinks too, so you can find stuff instead of looking through 170 pages to find what you want. Any other comments on the ordinance update committee meeting?
Nope.
Okay, new business. We have a public hearing for Nita, and I'm probably going to mispronounce it, Brand. PM Brand anyway, how's that sound? They want to have a processor license for change of ownership. And there's no physical changes of the building. It's just simply we're changing one owner to another owner and changing the name. Open the public hearing for that. Anybody have any comments on that?
Yeah, we're not.
Okay.
My name is Mohammed Gates, I'm an attorney. I represent PM Brands. Mr. Marogi.
How you doing? I'm Paul Marogi.
So yeah, just as you said, this is a existing building. We're not making any changes to it. This is just a new operator who's leasing it from Ms. Murad and going to be putting their business there. I can actually turn it over. You want to tell me a little bit about the business?
Yes, absolutely, dude. I'm Paul Marogi. Nice to meet you guys. Thank you for taking the time. I've been in cannabis for about 13 years and now just going along to the other side. We're just taking over this building, just new ownership and just doing packaging. We're not extracting or anything like that. Kind of more towards new packaging, a more healthy approach, you know, looking for repackaging for like, you know, healthy gummies and gluten-free and stuff like that. So, but we won't be making any changes to the building or anything like that, so.
Yeah, I didn't have I mentioned in our agenda that, and to my fellow commissioners that there was not gonna be any physical changes to the building. We didn't need to see another, site plan with all the drawings and all the measurements and stuff. It's, if, the way, because our ordinance is fashioned, anytime there is a change of license number, you have to come before us, which,
Absolutely.
okay, that's the current process. That's what we have to work with. If you're just a renewal, you don't have to come to us. You can go right straight to the board and get renewed, but like I say, we'll streamline it a little bit. We don't need to look at site plans.
We do appreciate that streamlining because there are some municipalities that even though they acknowledge that, they still make us go through everything. So it is nice to have that.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
So what's happening inside the building doesn't change with change of ownership. It's the same processes, same state regulatory oversight, no change in the business.
Yeah, correct. It's essentially the businesses, the equipment and fixtures are all there. And we're not planning on expanding the footprint of that business. So we're just gonna be packaging. Really, it's gonna be operating as a wholesaling entity. So we're gonna launch new brands and stuff like that out of there, but the processes there will be the same. We'll just, like Mr. Morodi said, we're trying to do maybe a little more healthy approach to it. Some different marketing angles, but essentially the project is entirely the same.
John, any questions?
I do not. I think I'm okay with this.
Any comments from, okay, thank you. I'll take any comments from the audience that wish to, any questions or anything. But he's happy. Okay, thank you. I will
Thank you.
close the public hearing.
Thank you.
Discussion for the license renewal.
Make that motion to renew their license for the new applicant.
Okay, I will support it. Any more discussion? Hey, Miss Amby, a roll call for this one, please.
John Congdon,
Yes.
Gary Tilson,
Yes.
Kevin Lawrence.
Yes. Okay, pass 3-0. We will recommend the approval to the Board of Trustees. That's where it has to go next. And I will make sure that they know the same things we just discussed now and brief them on it. So, and John's on the Board of Trustees, so
I'll be there so if they have questions.
he can answer questions.
We'll come back up to that one as well.
Yeah, their meeting should be June
June 2nd.
2nd. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, we move on to the next one, the public hearing for Michael Davison at Quantum AG.
You guys can leave or you can see what we do to him.
I'm sorry, Kevin.
Yeah, this one's gonna be brutal.
Okay, let's open the public hearing for Quantum. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so after this 24% increased tax in January 1st and a horrible outdoor season last year, we're just reducing plant count because we're not going to do as much outdoor and it takes more than 500 plants to fill our 100-foot greenhouse. So it doesn't make sense to take the larger license size at state level pricing wise. As far as you guys go, it's all the same price. It doesn't really matter. But I would like to point out, just so you guys are aware, if a class A in the state of Michigan, which is only 100 plants, is also only $1,200 with the state. And as of class B this year, I will be paying the state less than you for my license. But with class C, you're great savings compared to the $24,000 that the state is. So
Okay, the state's redoing their license fees.
yeah, the state's fee is 24,000 class C, like I said, 1,200 class A, and B with my social equity is a little under, like right around $4,500 or something.
Interesting. John will make sure that our.
And then processing is also like $24,000 range, which we hold, and that's still only 5,000 with you. So on the class C and processing, you guys are right in line, but I just wanted to point out that if you have someone smaller trying to do something, it's a little bit more of a burden.
Particularly in the B, right?
B not as much, but A especially, because it's only $1,200 class A.
You're Michael, right?
Correct.
Davis. You just threw out a bunch of numbers. For my benefit,
Sure.
and our benefit, because it's.
Smallest to 800 plant.
Okay, just a minute, you were trying to communicate to us something that's important that I want to understand. So. A, B, I'm just gonna add A, B, and C,
Which are,
state and then township.
Yeah.
How many plants, A, B, and C, and then tell me the breakdown of the cost. So
A, I
understand.
believe is 150, B is 500, and C is 2,000.
Okay,
And all of the city's licensing is 5,000, no matter which license it is.
for the city?
Correct. Thetford Township is 5,000 for any licensing.
So we're a flat 5,000.
Correct.
Okay, and at the state level, they're how much?
1,200 for A. Mine is about 4,500 for B, and then it's 24,000 for C. So that's why we're dropping off the Class C this year. It's because of the state. No,
And it was different last year then, obviously.
no, it's the
Was saying
it's the same. It's just when we went up to C from B, it was like, oh, it's not a big deal. You know, it's the same price. And when we first got a B the first year, it was like, that's just the fee. That's what it is. Then after seeing the breakdown of it, it's like, well, it's a lopsided for sure.
So our B and C at the township level is
A and B is-
is okay.
Yeah, B and C is pretty
A.
fair, but anyone that wanted to do microprocessing or Class A or any of the smaller licenses, it would be more burdensome
Something like
through
1,000
Thetford.
for 1,500
Yeah.
for an A at the township level,
And
4,500.
then a micro one where you can like have 200 plants plus processing and a
Yeah.
dispensary on site for, I don't know, it's like $3,500 or something like that. But 200 plant combo.
You foresee, I mean, you're in this, so you put a lot of money in, you're gonna try to make money. If the market comes back, do you think there's a chance that things get better and you want to go back to pursuing a C in the future?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If we can catch up, I mean, this 24% tax has been significant. I mean, you charge it to someone else, but that means people aren't buying. Because it's a huge,
You can't pass it on.
I think it was in January, 60% of sales reduction in the state. Because of the new tax.
Yeah.
And in February, it was like another 40% reduction or something. It was very, very difficult at the beginning of this year. If you weren't already completely established in your sales, and then most people were buying in December and not buying in January, February, because they knew the tax was coming. So it's been interesting to navigate. I'll say that. And what that also means that now we have a 40% tax on the sale of any cannabis product overall. There's 6% sales tax, 10% excise tax, 24% tax. So at wholesale level, 40%. Tax on a cigarette is 10 cents. Tax on a 12-ounce beer is 2 cents. We're dealing with 40%.
I'm glad you shared that. That's really.
So just to make you aware of the, the situation of how things are, and that's why we're reducing our black counts, because with those extra fees, it's really hurting the industry.
Yeah, it's gonna eventually force the price up, but not for the right reasons. It's not gonna, the farmer in your case.
I just read today, there's a multi-state facility that is closing down in Lansing as of today. 100 jobs gone. And they're staying in California and other states because they can navigate it there. But here in Michigan right now, they're leaving.
Maybe with some new direction at the state, that'll change perhaps.
I think overall, all of the state and legislation needs to realize that, yes, this is a lucrative business for sure, but it's not it's not a honeypot of free money that it was at the beginning. I mean, when things were booming at the beginning, it was a completely different industry 5 years ago. Completely different than what it is now. And with the additional taxation and then also large scale competition, it's making it hard on smaller guys like me. And I'm going to still do it because this is what I do. This is what I've been doing for 25 years. So I can't, or should I show you that I've been doing it 18 years?
18 years.
For 3 years. For 3 years.
There you go.
Give you $1 on this, you need a lawyer.
Appreciate that information because that'll get passed on. We'll make sure that on our board of trustees.
But then as far as our business goes, we're just trying to do a little bit less, be more streamlined. Nothing's changed on our site. Same processes, same customers, so.
Our intent overall is to, we appreciate the business people and we try to do what we can to help them survive, without, it's not our intent to run them out, tax them out of business.
So,
You know,
as a sidebar, I still would love to find a place that gives actual agricultural land to cannabis.
yeah.
The state allows it, so that would be the most beneficial because it's an agricultural product. Like I just said, I spent $60 on fire extinguishers being certified for my hoop house, which is not going to ever burn.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments from the audience on what he just spoke on?
I can give you some more context on that tax, just so you get some support. Because you guys are a governmental regulatory body, it'd really help if you guys as municipalities help the operators enforce your concerns to the state, because we don't have a lot of people in the marijuana, like the Michigan marijuana people's corner. There's like Michael was saying, there's a lot of out-of-state operators who come in, chase business out of town. But, having an effective 40% tax rate and then trying to compete with these other people does a couple things. One, we can't compete with them. They have margins that they can accept that, somebody like Mike or Pell can't accept because they're actually trying to feed a family with the business. And then two, it turns people to illegal and black markets. And nobody wants that shift back, really. Everybody wants to be in this regulated industry. And so it'd help us tremendously and the market tremendously if we have, support from municipalities like yours.
Or if they would enforce in the traditional legal market any of the things they enforce on us, that would greatly help us.
Yeah, that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Thank you. Trying to do it right, you get kicked down sometimes.
Okay, I'll close the public hearing comments at this time then. Discussion.
Yeah, so Michael, when you explained all that, you probably felt like you were maybe just venting as a small business proprietor that the woes of the business. But this is much bigger than you and affects a lot of people. I look at this not just in an industry, whether I for or against it, that's not the point. It's a legal business and we've welcomed it here in this area. And I'm thinking, what if it was gas station owners that were here and all of a sudden they were paying a 40% tax, or flower shops or any other business all of a sudden had an exorbitant tax? It not only affects the customers and affects the business owners, put the money in, but ultimately affects the township, the township, the county, the state. So there must be some reason that, on the surface, it just looks like there's a lot of money there. The state needs money. So let's just throw out a number. Let's just tax them another 24% and see if that makes them cry. And where's it stop? They didn't squawk too much. Let's make it 30%. They didn't squawk too much. Let's make it another 5%. I don't know where it stops, but it does concern us because it affects our revenue as well. So it's something for us to pay attention to and keep an eye on.
I also just am wondering why it's so excessive when, the only reason I found out about cigarette tax and alcohol tax is because they put this tax in. I'm like, well, what is it for cigarettes? 10 cents a cigarette. It's only $2 a pack. For 12-ounce beer, it's 2 pennies. It's been the same since 1966. They lobby $100 million a year to keep it that way. But if you put 10-cent tax on a beer, you'd make up that revenue instantly and no one would even notice that it was there. But when you say 24% now, that's 1/4 of what you're making is tax.
I've never seen it.
It's shocking.
You're coming in here to downsize from a C to a B, and I've been involved in businesses for quite a long time, over 40 years, and I've never seen a business downsize itself into prosperity. And it's something you got to think about. You're going to still be spending 10, 12 hours a day there. Instead of making X, you're going to be making X divided by 3 or whatever divided by 2 and spending the same amount of time. So there's gotta be another solution. I mean, we'll move forward on this, but longer term, we gotta think a little strategy on how to.
Yeah, I mean, I think a big part of it is we decided to grow at the wrong time, maybe a little too quickly. And then we had one bad outdoor year, that throws a big wrench into it. We did 10% of what we did the previous year on our outdoor crop. So, I mean, that's farming, right?
Okay.
John, any discussion?
I do not. I think we've covered most of his situation.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we recommend to reclassify the grower license from quantum AG from Class C to a Class B at their request.
I second that.
Okay, give me a second. Miss Amby, would you roll call please for us?
John Condon,
Yeah.
Jerry Tilson,
Yes.
Kevin Lawrence.
Yes. Okay. Motion carried 3-0. Same thing, June 2nd, at the Board of Trustee meeting. You'll have to approve your new license classification. We'll do the same thing. They'll get a little pep talk ahead of time and John will be there to answer any of their questions. So I always include you guys in my planning report that I have to report to at the beginning of the board meeting. So anything that we do here, they get to hear me talk about it, then they'll get to hear John talk about it. So we drive the point home.
Hopefully, I like you guys.
Okay, today. Yeah. Okay, next order of business is the public hearing portion on our battery storage systems amendment to our zoning ordinance number 78. And we'll open the floor for any public comments on that. No, we do have Chief Bronson in the audience that he was kind enough to look over our ordinance and give us some extra concerns to add to it. I think everybody got a copy from the email that he sent me.
For Stephanie's benefit, because a couple things I didn't pass on, and I've kept her in the loop because she's been so supportive of the township and so heavily involved. I mean, in fairness to Stephanie, give an update. So over the last couple of meetings, we've had discussion that our ordinance is missing a battery energy storage system ordinance section. So we worked together on that. Put together, I think an 11-page document framed with support of other townships that have put them together. And then our consultant from Wade Trim ran it by her, and she had several pages of recommendations, additions, deletions, structural things. Basically made it a much more logical flow, robust document. So that's, I believe, all in here now in the document. And then since then, Chief Bronson has made some recommendations. Just I think as soon as this week or within the last week or two, and has been in communication with Kevin. So we were prepared to discuss the document based on all of our input and Caitlin's input. And then in the last week, we got some valuable input here from Chief Bronson. So after this discussion, these will be merged together and have a more robust document. So.
Yeah, so I looked over the document and it looked very thorough to me, like you guys have addressed the major issues. I think it's super important for us to have the best ordinance to protect the township. And, you know, to me, it looked very sensible.
Okay, I guess for Chief Bronson's benefit, we can maybe jump and address his comments first, and then I'll go back through line by line what Caitlin outlined for us for discussion tonight.
If I may, sir, just
Sir, go ahead.
Mr. Lawrence down at the station and dropped off this ordinance, and a very good ordinance, very thorough. I basically reviewed the emergency operations section of this. That's where I kind of focused my attention to. I reviewed the entire ordinance, but I dialed into the emergency operation. I just want to note that with the township adopting the IFC 2021, which 12.0 section 1207 does address ESS or emergency storage system. So kind of twofold. So I basically took information out of that 1207 and imposed it to my email. So we're kind of doubled up here because we're going to be able to enforce the IFC along with this ordinance. So it's kind of a twofold. So if you don't adopt it in this ordinance, we'll still have authority to enforce the IFC. So whether you capture that, my concern was the water source, right? We want to make sure we have an adequate water source to do what we need to do, plus some access, egress and access to have our equipment there. So whether you adopt that in this ordinance or we use the IFC to address those issues, either way, it's fine with me. Obviously, I don't have a preference there. I just want to know that that's where my focus was at today, and that's what I addressed in the email. So
let me talk about that. I have no expertise in fire, so I'm at your mercy, but in my opinion, having been heavily involved with this and with no experience in that, I guess I yield to you. We'll put in whatever you suggest.
either way, the big thing to note into there that I see as the IFC updates, every 3 years we have a new IFC. So we're on to 2024, 2027, there'll be a new one. Not every year do we update it. It's a big ordeal to update the new IFC. So probably we skip every ordinance. So right now there's a 2024 out. We adopted a 2021. So probably 2027 we will update to our IFC 2027. So the board just recently updated or agreed to adopt the 2021 code. So it's important in your ordinance to note that you'll enforce the most current adopted IFC. I think I bolded that out for you. That's extremely important that we put that in there that we've.
Yeah, I think that language would be very important. This is pretty much repetitious, but if you wanted to make it highlighted in there that, but you could also just highlight the section and because they got to comply with the whole thing either way. So, but it is very important it's the current one because like you said, every 3 years it's going to change. And so that language we definitely need in there. They're enforcing the current international fire code, not just whatever date one we accepted.
Also, no, it's not a big deal, but Chapter 12 addresses a lot more than just ESS or emergency storage systems. The section 1207 is a section that references ESS or emergency storage system. So if you want to fine tune that a little bit and say section 1207 is what we enforce, which is energy storage systems, versus just naming chapter 12, because there's a lot more in chapter 12 than just ESS or energy storage system. So it's just a small minor thing, but either way, it's fine. So.
Would it be to our benefit to put into the ordinance, I'm looking back at the email that you sent me for water supply and access to actually put these statements within our ordinance?
Not gonna hurt.
You know, so that should somebody, developer say, okay, I want to see your ordinance. Okay, here's, specifics that we're going to expect you to comply with.
Yeah, that's gonna be more clear to them. They're not gonna have to go hunt through the IFC and try to figure out that. Well, they're gonna be able to pull this ordinance out and give a basic guidelines of what we want.
So Chief Bronson, what you said earlier, it could be IFC or it could be this. If we cut and paste your 5, 6, your 7 bullets here, we cut and paste that in, does that capture everything that? Correct.
With additional information you had in the emergency operation plan, yes, I believe so.
Okay.
Now, I'm not an attorney.
I understand.
I'm not an attorney, right? So I'd probably send it back to Wade Trim to get their approval on that. So, yeah. Those are a few things I'd be looking for as far as a fire department.
It doesn't hurt to have them in there.
Yeah, it's just a discussion point, but yeah, I mean, it's cut and paste is easy. I mean, you talk about chapter 12 and this and that, and after you leave here, we're gonna look at each other and go, What exactly did he say? And so I'm trying, while we got access to you, I want to understand exactly what we're supposed to do, because otherwise we'll be scratching our heads. So cut and paste of this does capture the spirit and intent of what you presented. Yes. Okay. I do have some questions. We had discussion, this is going back several months, about battery energy storage system fires. Now, I told you, full disclosure, that I'm limited to no fire experience. Others that are on a campfire as a kid, but all my understanding is all fires are not created equal. As the fire chief, when you hear about the potential of a large scale battery energy storage system come, is it like no big deal, or is it like, oh crap, we gotta train the boys because this is a different animal? Where does it fall? You've been doing this for decades, but where does that fall? And I'll tell you my limited experiences. I monitored the battery fire in New York. And apparently those fire departments just went crazy in 2-3 weeks trying to get this thing resolved because it was a new kind of fire animal to them.
It's something new to relatively new to the fire service somewhat. I just sat in a 2-day seminar on Bay City and talked a lot about this the past 2 days. It's something new to us. Yes, it does somewhat keep us up at night just because of the unknown. It's something we're going to need to understand more and get more familiar with it in the very near future. Our approach today with energy storage system is to move back, protect properties, and let the unit burn and protect exposures. So that's our approach today with these fires.
And I don't know, this thing about water supply, this is what we talked about several months ago, because we thought, and they got to bring a tanker out here and tap into one of these wells, pull up to somebody's barn and hook up a hose and fill up. And the city could burn down while they're trying to get 10,000 gallons of water. So this should be, I don't know how much water it takes if the whole battery storage system goes up in flames. The one there was flames 300 foot high for a quarter of a mile. So, right off the top, I would think, man, you need access to public water system that's got a steady flow of water.
That's the best source. There's other ways to address those with some mutual aid and tanker shuttles, which we're prepared for. But again, what we're learning, because we don't have a lot of experience with that, is protect exposures, isolate the battery that is currently is thermal runaway, and let that battery burn itself out. That's what we're finding out to the best now. Depends on how much storage is in that battery, means a lot to us, and the amount of exposures, life safety. There's a lot to these things. So the new systems, they're doing a lot better job these days building and designing these systems versus 10 years ago. And to say that these don't make me nervous, it's ones that we don't know about, right? That they're putting in their homes now and aren't doing the do-it-yourself stuff. So that's one that make us nervous too. So I'm not saying these don't make us nervous. They do, just because the uncertainty and lack of experience with them. But what we're being told is protect exposures, and let the battery burn itself out.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's one thing I know Generac is heavily marketing their home units. You put them in the garage and all that, and hopefully they get all the licensed people putting these in all over the countryside. But it's one thing to have a battery in the middle of this room on fire and say, hey, let's go outside until it burns out. But a football field size battery putting out leads right into our discussion about distances, because I was pushing for nothing to be within half a mile. But if that thing takes 2 weeks to burn out or whatever, a long period of time, and starts affecting and people have to flee the countryside, that's why I still want to kind of dig my heels in on the distance. I don't think anybody should, be too close to these things should something happen.
yeah, the fire code doesn't address, obviously there's some spacing on the containers and the spacing of containers in the fire code. But as far as setbacks, the fire code doesn't address setbacks on zoning, that kind of stuff. We're addressing how far they're from structures, where they're placed at, and how far they're set back from our containers. We don't address. As far as zoning ordinance of that, we just want some fire loads, some water flows, that kind of stuff. So we're most interested in right now. So
And we did put in there some wording, and maybe it could be cleaned up a bit, or maybe Caitlin already did, but thinking I can't remember what we call it, the Clio Fire Authority, it's a body that covers a large area. If this is a new technology, I'll call it, a new thing coming into the area. Should there happen to be additional training required, additional computers, technology, monitors, something in your satellite facilities or your fire stations monitoring, we shouldn't have to shoulder the costs. That training and all of that equipment, technology, software, and all that monitoring, the project owns that.
Yeah.
We're not gonna be burdened with those additional costs. And if it's an annual training or semi-annual, whatever the requirement is for your men and women to stay on top of the latest technology,
education is key, right?
Yeah.
And to learn it.
And that's why we tried to incorporate that in there. And that's what I was previously alluding to, that if we're doing training to additional departments in the area, I want the training to go through the Clio area. So that monetary training would go to you, and you would train those, whatever that costs. And that's the cost that we would expect them to pay.
Yeah.
For the areas that that's gonna need the support, including, like he just suggested, having to bring tankers from other areas, to get enough supplies. So that's what we're hoping for. If that happens, that we are gonna incorporate those costs before you do it. And then I'll be expecting, you to be involved in that.
Overall, very solid ordinance, right? Very pleased with this. So,
Yeah, thanks for taking the time to go
Yeah.
through that.
thanks for involving us. Thanks for thinking of us. Right? It means a lot to us. So
Good.
thank you.
Page 7, section H under fire safety compliance, I think is where we tried to put in there enough wording that training, annual training and expenses related, both to Clio Area Fire Authority is the initial organization, and then spread out to other, it's your discretion who else has to be trained,
Yeah, perfect. We appreciate that. And we can bring in outside agencies as we foresee, and we have some control over who we want to bring in too. So. Very good.
We're trying.
We're trying to work our way. You've done a great job. So
Appreciate all your input and your time too.
thanks, Chief. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, fellas, what I got from Caitlin is, her last one was, under general requirements, Article 14. Has to do with visual impact. And what we were talking about there was screening from basically for type 1s, the type 2 commercial ones, we were having a lot of screening and stuff to camouflage it, so to speak. However, when we get to the ordinance for type 1 for residential, it's questionable what type of screening we're considering, because we do not require screening of standby generators or air conditioners. So, here again, we're going over on one and not being consistent. That was a question that came up from more or less she's being devil's advocate and saying, what if?
Yeah, that's page 4 on the visual impact. Where it's, that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's probably where I'm at.
Page 4, number D.
Yeah, visual impact area. That, do we want to, this is dealing strictly with, type ones. And do we want to require screening? We don't require screening of generators or air conditionings. We don't require a sound check, on residential generators or air conditioning units. So it was, the noise, part two with noise went along the same thing. We don't require noise, levels. However, we do have an ordinance, under nuisance noises and stuff like that if you're residential. So,
Yeah, the decibel level, so.
her recommendation was to not put a requirement in there for the type ones.
Oh, I get it. Yeah, I agree to that.
I agree to that,
You
too.
know.
For the residential, yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to, we were doing a comparison with type one, type twos and, what do we do with our language elsewhere in the zoning ordinance and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. And then, number three in her highlighted letter, the current language is subjective for screening, consider removal of provision consistent with other like personal. Same thing, we're back into screening again for, residentials.
Yeah, page 5. Page 5.
This is her letter dated May. Okay, 28th, she gave me the highlight. Yeah. So we're talking about eliminating the screening and things like that.
Yeah, type one, type two are totally different. Those wall units you hang in the garage or in your pole barn are really small.
We would take that part out of our draft. For type twos, noise, the discussion or development is compliant from property lines or participating property lines. The type two noise applications, and I think we had a discussion for and that would be coming out on top of page 7. Yeah. Where we discuss the sound study and
Whatever our solar ordinance, it should be consistent with our solar ordinance. I thought it was from the property lines.
I think our ordinance is from the property lines, the state 301 was from the wall of the building, wall of the dwelling. But we had stuck with the property lines. And then the question was any property line or non-participating property lines. We had a question there that if you want to lease your land out, your lot next door for battery storage, similar to solar, you don't want to see solar panels right next door, but if you're already gaining financial gain from it and willingly to do it, then you're giving up certain, I'm trying to say it, you got to give up, you're giving up some of your personal,
So her recommendation was to eliminate that, or?
no, for us to decide,
Oh, I see.
for the sound, for the noise and stuff, do we want the noise measured at property lines or just participating property line? All property lines or participating property line? So we stick to all property lines, even though, like I say, you may be the person that's, said, okay, sure, go ahead, build it next to me. I don't mind.
Yeah, it seems like all property lines or participating, it's the same thing. If you don't have somebody if you got the unit there, am I reading that wrong?
I think she means non-participating. I'm sorry. The way
Oh, all right.
If your neighbor puts it in and you don't want it, okay, then we want the noise measured at your property line.
So if the battery energy storage system is on this lot, and this is a participating landowner
Mhm.
and they share a property line. In fact, he's not only participating, but he's also got a field back here with solar panels on it. And then on this side of the battery is a non-participating.
Correct.
And we're talking about sound. So the logical thing would be it'd be from all property lines.
Yeah, well, that makes it-
Participating and non-participating.
That makes it easier to deal with all property lines.
I'll give you one example though, like the field next to me, John Walden's field is 2 parcels. So there'd be a property line between that is all really his. So maybe that's what she meant about saying non-participating lines. Because non-participating lines would be, you see what I'm saying? Because
You're saying that they couldn't put this,
Storage, equipment on it.
yeah, if you own 2 parcels like that, if they weren't joined, then theoretically, that property line, you couldn't have it right near that property line in the middle.
That's 2 parcel numbers.
Yeah. And so there's a parcel line in between, but it's actually just that one whole field.
Or you could always eliminate that problem by joining the properties.
Combine the two
Yeah,
parcels.
which the assessor would combine the legals. If that was a problematic situation.
Yeah, in our phone conversation, we really got to where we were nitpicking because we wanted to make sure,
I don't know if these things are loud. I don't know, are battery storage systems, they generate noise?
Yeah, they're noisy. Yeah, they use air conditioning units, but like a lot of them. Because they have to keep the batteries cooler to prevent thermal runaway. So it can be quite loud.
I can hear the hum of a power line, so.
They do on it.
Sure.
Yeah. We'll circle back to that a little later and let it,
No, not really, because I think. Going back to our discussion last month, I think that, I mean, we're trying to protect. I think about there up on Dodge and Irish Road and, with my close friends with the family that lives next door and they put that gas plant right there.
Mhm.
And when that thing kicks on, we're in his yard, it's pretty loud. And, I think this goes back to, if there's any buildings or residents, then, find a place where it's gonna be half a mile away from anybody.
Yeah.
Find it. If you want it here, find it where it's half a mile away from anybody.
we can just leave it at property lines, period. I mean,
Yeah.
that's-
Yeah, let's put that part, let's just leave it at.
Leave it at property lines.
Yeah, for that one, yeah, we can move on then. All right.
Leave it at property line. Okay, the emergency operations plan was the next thing that she highlighted. And what she highlighted was the payment by the applicant for enforcement. She said, we should have the township attorney review it to see how enforceable it is. That it's common procedure when going through the court system to request full or partial
Page 8.
fees.
Which page is it?
Page 8,
Uh,
top of page 8.
We were trying to get them to pay more or less, requesting upfront that they pay to prosecute themselves if they have an issue. And it was questionable. She said the standard procedure in court cases is you request fees. If you win, you request your attorney fees.
Okay, so you pay up front, and then if you win, you get it back.
Yeah, she said it's pretty common that the court, you get court costs and stuff when you settle something, you know.
If that's the standard, then yeah, we should review that.
And like you said, here again, we're talking about how enforceable is it, you know, you
Yeah.
can put it in there, but. you
Yeah.
know,
Well, that's the problem. Some judge is gonna throw that out if it's not standard practice.
Yeah. Going on her experience alone there.
So sorry, I also believe your newly adopted fire code addresses reimbursement too on cost recovery and additional stuff to that will be a reimbursement.
Oh, yeah, that I hadn't even thought about that.
In the event of a emergency operation plan.
Yeah, if we get into a battery, there's gonna be huge cost recovery.
Yeah,
And yeah, it's gonna be huge. And
cost recovery through the fire department will
Yeah.
cover.
mhm. Which, and related,
Yeah,
good point.
her recommendation is to just drop that portion.
So we said the best operator must reimburse the township for all attorney fees and court costs to enforce compliance.
She's suggesting you sue them, you win, and they award you costs.
Yeah.
If you win.
Our discussion, just to refresh everybody's memory on that one, had to do with, should we happen, we're a small township with small budgets, should we happen to get into a 5-10 year long-term $100 million lawsuit where we're out millions and millions, it could bankrupt the place and attorneys end up working for nothing for years. And that we didn't want to wait until a judgment after the dust settled, after it was settled. This is a large scale industrial thing being imposed upon us that comes with a whole different cost structure that we're not prepared to. Should it come to something like that? I'm okay either way. I don't think there's anything wrong with leaving it in there. Just my opinion, but I'm not.
No, I don't know.
I'm not.
That's why we're all here to
Yeah,
discuss it
I know,
and
I
get
know,
opinions and.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm open. I'm open.
It's just, I don't know if it's enforceable, but if it, I mean.
I'm
guess it
looking
doesn't-
at all of this anticipating worst case down the road.
We can leave it in there and let it go with that. And if we get a lot of feedback.
If our attorney says it's not.
Well, there you go. This hasn't been reviewed by the attorney yet, has it?
No,
Okay, so let's leave it in, and if he throws it,
Just draws attention to that one line and
Yeah.
then says,
Yeah.
no, that's unreasonable or
yeah,
hallelujah. That's a good idea.
that's what we pay him for, so that's perfect.
the next thing come up to see was what we were talking about with setbacks. And this is in type twos. Like I say, we're not dealing with resident, we're away from residential now, we're dealing with commercial. And we talked about the half a mile setback. And is it feasible? I guess what the question she put to me is, where in the township could you have a half a mile setback from a resident? You know, I mean, half a mile from the road right away, yeah, okay, maybe, you're gonna push it. Because there again, now you got, where's your half a mile from a road right away? If you're in a block, half a mile one way, half a mile the other way, you're in the middle, there's nothing.
Yeah, there'd be nowhere to build because you couldn't be half a mile from the
Couldn't be
other
half a
quarter,
mile
from the other section, the other side.
So
So-
if you had a square section, 640 acres, it's impossible to build it.
Right.
So you excluded that by using that term.
Especially in this township, because we're pretty uniform in sections. Some areas are not so, but this township is, they're almost all square sections.
Yeah, and that's where we get into the term exclusionary zoning. We can't make it impossible. So we have to leave some type of, possibility.
Are we talking from property lines or from other buildings?
This is the first one is road right of ways.
So,
On page 8.
yeah, so that's not even gonna be the center of the road. That's gonna be from the right of way. Whatever that is, 16 feet or whatever that is from the center of the road, or 32 feet or whatever it is.
Yeah,
Well, that's where it starts.
we initially had half a mile from road right of ways. And half a mile from property lines. And that's why we went to
That's why,
300 feet from the road right of way.
yeah, so that still put it 300 plus away from the.
The doctor has input.
Yeah, which, if the half a mile comes from my original suggestions, that was prior to going through the MPSC process, learning a whole lot more about zoning since, and I think the point about exclusionary zoning is like absolutely concrete. It just, probably the half a mile could make it, the whole thing get thrown out,
Yeah,
you know, so it probably is gonna, I mean, I don't know. 300 feet to me still sounds really close, like Gary's saying, but
Well, not from.
that might be
No,
feasible,
it's one thing off the road,
yeah.
you know, okay, 300 feet off the road or 500 feet or 600 feet. I thought I saw something that said 600 feet off the road. But I'll tell you, we gotta protect all citizens in worst case scenario. And should this thing go up in an inferno, I mean, the chief will tell you, if you got 400 foot flames, how far do you want your house away from that?
If we make it,
How far are you comfortable that you're quarter mile, 1,000 feet, 800 feet, some distance?
we make it impossible, the only issue is, you know, assuming it goes to MPSC, that's 50 feet. You know, so it needs to be something feasible.
50 feet from your house, a battery storage system could
What do
be.
you want? 300 feet from your house, 50 feet from your property line is what the state law is for battery storage.
Yes, so this is way over the state.
Yeah, 50.
Seeing we're 1,000 feet from schools and
If they want to take that liability, I don't think we as a township should take that kind of, 50 feet is from here to there. 50 feet is nothing.
no, that's probably why the suggestion of 300 she put in there. So, I mean, it's not saying you can't build, but it's definitely more than the state.
yeah, it's something I neglected to throw in here too, and I've been through this with MTA. A lot of communities are doing what they call I call it a wheel, but it's a workable, incompatible ordinance. And they are taking some of the language from the state, but then some of the language like we're doing here and trying to make it, you know, is it workable? Can we work out something rather than to keep them away from MPSC? And that's a brand new term that's come up now and yeah, I like I say, I'm kind of looking at it saying, okay, yeah, you know, state's gonna give you 50 feet if you go to them. We initially were talking, you know, half a mile. It's not practical if we get into a point where we actually do exclusionary zoning, then it automatically goes to a court case and you're gonna pull an attorney in and you're gonna go into a court battle because you excluded them. They won't even worry about going to the state first. You just boom, you're gonna be in a court case to settle that too.
So we're talking two things. One is from roadways or property lines.
Yeah.
And 50 feet, 100 feet, 300 feet, some number. Those are all small distances. The other is from buildings. Nobody in this township, nobody in the state should want one of these things within a decent distance from their house. I don't know what that is, but I mean,
Yeah, and it doesn't address that. It just addresses.
And the other thing to think about, so we have to avoid exclusionary zoning, like I said, half a mile, that, like, even if MPC didn't exist, we could end up in court. Because if it's true, nowhere in the township they can build, that'd be exclusionary. But if the laws get repealed, which I don't know what the possibility is, this ordinance is what'll be in effect, so.
yeah,
It is still a good idea to have what we want, and that also communicates to developers when it comes to compromises and things like that.
we've always said it's better to start off with something that's reasonable. Okay, half a mile is unreasonable. 50 feet is also the other extreme unreasonable. Okay, I would 600 feet's only an eighth of a mile. I don't think that's unreasonable. And if it comes to discussions, then it comes to discussions. But 2,640 feet down to 600 feet. I don't think 600 feet's not that great of a distance.
I got one question for the fire marshal. If one of these things catches on fire and you're battling it, what would you say is safe distance that fumes aren't gonna be an issue?
I mean, we're gonna probably do evacuation half mile radius. But not even that, you gotta remember the size of these things, and it depends how many cells are on fire too. Normally it's only one cell, it's not the entire complex, so there's a lot of variables to what's going on. But you gotta remember that these batteries are everywhere. They're in your cars, they're in your homes. It's not just, yes, there's a lot in one area, and it depends how many batteries are exposed to it too, so.
I'm just thinking, because it's so massive, like worst case, like.
Yeah,
I'm sure
normally
you're
they're
wearing
in.
respirators and
Yeah,
oxygen
there's
masks to
definitely
use
some-
bad ones.
Yeah.
I mean,
And they're isolated too. It's not one giant, they're in containers normally, and they're isolated. That's why you want the containers separated 20 feet apart, keep them separated. So every battery not being exposed, and it's limited to the. So a complex, it's certain cells that are.
It's not gonna ignite the next one because I didn't realize that they were isolated like that.
Fire code mandates each unit is 20 foot apart. There's protection for those units, and so.
But I don't care if you wanna bump that up. So what do you wanna bump
Well,
it?
so there's two things, just to be clear, because I'm not trying to create difficulty here, I'm just anticipating, but there were two aspects in our discussion about how far away someone should have to cohabitate with one of these, whether they like them or not. And one had to do with the visual and what it looks like. But understand here, this is in effect putting an industrial factory next to your house. Okay, this is loud. This is gonna be a lifestyle change for whoever have to live around this. So it wasn't just the threat of the potential flames and the threat. It was the rest of your life. You're living next to something that is always making noise. So keep that in mind if.
We do have a 45 decibel rule though, right?
At the property line.
The state's 65, I think. I thought the state was
55.
55.
At the property line.
At the outer wall, actually.
Is that what it is? Outer wall?
45 at the property line, I think. At least on solar, we were 45 at the property line, whereas they're 55 at the outer wall, which means they can be louder than 55 at your property line.
So just be cognizant of the person who might be living next to this for the rest of their life could be you. And you're never going to get away from the sound. So that's why I'm saying a couple hundred feet makes a big difference in the dissipation of noise.
So what are you suggesting? 600 from the right of way or 500 from the right?
From the right of way, I'm okay with, it doesn't, that doesn't matter as much as 200 feet or something like that.
Because he's got it near 300 now.
Okay, 300.
Okay, it's 300 just strictly from a road right away.
Yeah.
And then he's got 300 from the property line. Is that where you want, that one is the one you want to bump? But from the property line.
Non-participating. I mean, Stephanie, if they were to put one next to your farm there and that field, you gotta listen to it. How far away would you want it from your house?
I want it however far away it would be 45 decibels.
Yeah. Excellent. No, that's a good point.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know how far away that would be.
That's the problem. It's hard to
In
word.
terms of fire, you'd have to evacuate. You know, I mean, I just read a report with the big fire that happened in California from the EPA. And the federal government comes in if it's that major and tests properties and requires the cleanup and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it becomes a very, very big issue. It would be life-changing a half a mile away, you know, but in terms of noise, I would just want it how far away it would be 45 decibels.
These distances I'm talking about are not huge distances, so let's not lose sight. I think we're talking about halfway across the county. If you gotta live next to this thing, I don't think it's unreasonable. We take as our starting point that from property lines, that it's from participating, whether we're participating or non-participating, or just all property lines, that they're set back 600 feet from property lines. Let's start there and go from there. I think that's a compromise. I want 2,640 feet,
Yeah.
but from property lines. So come down to 600 and then we'll take it from there.
Also, their footprint is not like solar, so it might be feasible because you know, they can fit a lot of batteries on like 10 acres.
Yeah.
So most of these complexes are not two
And I
thousand.
would like to think that they, if they're gonna take a 50 or 100 acre field, that they would take 10 acres in the middle of that field. And put it where the solar panels might even drown out some of the sound.
And see, and if they're gonna do a site plan too, so, you know, at that point, we would have the opportunity to suggest you use more of the property. You know, we could suggest, I mean, doesn't mean they're gonna do it, but we would have that opportunity. But I'm okay with that. 600 foot says from all property lines, that's how it's worded currently.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
Yeah, we can do it. The only reason we put 300, we threw 300 in there so we had a number to stimulate a discussion, because we didn't want to have just half a mile, because then you got to get your tape measure out and determine what exactly is a half a mile. And she said, you know, anything that we can specify feet is a whole lot better than just a generic half a mile. So that's why we picked the 300 to 300 and the in part C, the 1,000. They were just a number to throw out there. So we come back with a number, not you know, not a generic so what are we're looking at 300 feet from the right of way roads,
And 600 feet from all our property. That's
600 from property.
And the devil's advocate, I can measure 2,540, just like I can measure 600. It just takes about 4 times longer.
Yeah. Boy, I agree. It just, like I say, we wanted a specific number to look at rather than just a half. And then part C was, we tried to throw in there occupied community buildings and, working around to places that we may have a large amount of people. And it's, page 8, number C. The back 1,000 feet from occupied community buildings. And in going through that, we looked at it and said, well, in the township presently, we don't have the school, but get one in the future. Churches, daycare facilities. And what I kind of went back on that was, and I included the chief on that. I said, you know, if we do have an incident, you're going to have to do an evacuation plan. And 1,000 feet from an occupied where there might be a gathering place will buy you a little extra time to get a bus in there, say, to pull people out, you know, rather than just this 300 or 600 feet from the property line, buying you a little extra space, maybe a little extra time if the wind's blowing the right direction.
Yeah.
Do we want to go in 1,000 feet is there again, you know, we're talking a good distance, you know, you're getting near a quarter mile.
yeah, it seems like that number is floated around before other things, from schools. Isn't that 1,000 feet?
Might have been in the marijuana.
Yeah, I've seen that 1,000 in something else.
But my thoughts were just a place where we could conceivably have a wedding reception, a Sunday church service, family reunion, something where you've got a group of people and all of a sudden, oop, we got to get them out of here quick. You know, let's give us a little breathing room.
I'm okay with 1,000. For that application.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's probably not even gonna be an issue if you start thinking about.
Right.
Do a mental scan of the area.
Yeah, it's probably never
There's
gonna.
There's probably not even gonna be considered in any areas that have the churches or public facilities.
Yeah, and being that where we do this, we allow them in agricultural property and stuff. You don't have a lot of these, you know, this would be more in a you know, commercial area where you're gonna have, you don't have a daycare out in the middle of the farm country necessarily, you know, or a library. Community center like the Cure Community Center or the church down here, you know,
Yeah, you know, so there could be some in-home daycare, right? That's doing some daycare home. And the off-gassing is a concern. And obviously, younger they are, the more the off-gas is gonna affect them. So I think it's a good idea as far as the longer you can do the 1,000 feet for the younger people. what the off gassing is.
What do you got next, Kevin?
Oh, let's see.
After the.
I've got a 7 o'clock meeting I gotta be at. I apologize.
Okay,
No worries. Thanks for coming, chief.
Thank you. I truly thank you for including me on this, asking for input and putting this together. I truly appreciate you guys, involving us in this and greatly appreciate that. So thank you very much. Good ordinance.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good luck. Nice seeing you.
Okay, the topic is screening and noise barriers. If screening should be from property lines or non-participating properties, and this would be screening and noise for commercials. And we already discussed the noise from property lines. We touched on that rather than on all property lines.
Yeah.
And is the screening, well, there again, to me, the screening goes along with the noise. If you recall back when we were talking about solar panels and the inverters and having the acoustic screening up where the inverters are rather than at the property lines. Let's dampen the noise near the source. I think the requirement is that the perimeter is 50 feet, if I recall right in here, for fencing around the facility, so you wouldn't have any screening in that open distance. I know that the chief had it pictured in there too for access for equipment and stuff. So I guess that the big thing is we want to stay with property lines and eliminate all property lines and not participating.
Yeah, take that part out, and then we're consistent and it's fluid all the way through.
Yeah.
The common language to say from property lines.
Okay, then we hit on maximum ground coverage. This was another sticky point on page 9. We had it goes along with F with campus regulations. This is something that Caitlin recommended in there too, is the how big a footprint is the buildings, type of buildings you want, how much the lot they're going to cover. Part of her maximum building lot coverage in our zoning districts is limited manufacturing is 30% and agricultural is 10%. That is in zoning, our zoning districts.
That's already in our zoning, right? So we could just eliminate this.
I think so.
We can just
Yeah,
take it out
yeah.
entirely.
Yeah, I just
Because they're gonna have to comply in that.
it's within the zoning, so. Okay, so that's out. Campus regulations, there she was talking about the width of your building, street frontage wise. That you don't want a building any more than 300 foot wide if you're looking at it from the road. Regardless of what size they're building, what size parcel they're building on. She said to keep the footprint 300 foot wide from the road, and then they build behind, so you don't have a humongous thing, Somebody wants to spam me. Pardon me 1 second here. Get rid of that one. Anyway, that the width of the building would be no more than 300 foot. And the distance between buildings would be 40 foot, so that for the gap between the buildings even 40 feet, but build behind rather than wide.
Yeah, so,
I
mean, it doesn't sound bad. I mean, from an aesthetic point of view.
Yeah.
Do we have this? I don't remember any of this kind of language in our ordinance.
No, the campus regulation, that is something that she brought up as a suggestion to incorporate that into it. And we either can say yes or not, and then she put some explanations with it, how it would be explained.
I like the concept, but we're kind of flying blind, not seeing what a design plan looks like. I don't know if these buildings are 25,000 square foot buildings or 100,000 square foot building, like a gigantic mall. I don't know.
It's more like a data center, like my understanding is shipping containers. So it's just like what you see in train cars. That is filled with batteries, and then those have to be, as he said, like 20 feet apart or whatever, but they just fill the area with that. It's like a gravel lot.
So this would be, what she's suggesting is you could only have one bank, 300 feet space, another bank, 300 feet. So that would be better than 500 feet of continuous, if that's what you're trying to, if that's the point of the story. I assume that's what why that's there, because for looks.
Yeah, the concept is so you don't see a big long from left to right spread out.
Yeah, it could be deep, but it's still
Yeah.
from the road, you're only gonna see 300 feet.
Yeah, it can be as deep as you want, you know. But you're only gonna be 300 foot wide, so you'll have open space this way, open space here. It may be packed all the way to the rear property line.
Yeah, with a 40 foot
But if you
space.
stand out at the road, you're gonna see open territory on either side. You know, so I mean, they would come to us with a site plan, and their building, if you were to stand at the road and look at it, wouldn't be any more than 300 foot wide. It could be, 1,000 feet deep if you want, but you're only gonna see.
And the distance between the 40 feet between buildings, though, may or may not be problematic, because he has to have a access. Fire department is gonna require, and so is the International Fire Code, to require a full access. So it does, so with 300 feet and 40, can they still reach? I don't know, but. Could they still reach, or let's say there's 300s, 240, 280 foot spaces, or 280 total space. Would they be able to access that? I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure that would even be acceptable. From a firefighting standpoint, although, like the chief just suggested, the plan is just to isolate it and protect everything around it. And so you don't have to get right on top of it, I guess.
We don't know what the lot looks like, so we're kind of, we don't know what the design plan looks like. If in fact these take up roughly 10 acres, rough ballpark, and then you need some access roads and you need some of this and that, so call it 15 acres. 15 acres is roughly 700,000 square feet. But we don't know if that's the lot they have in mind is 500 feet wide and a half mile deep, or it's a mile wide and 500, 800 feet deep. So I don't know how, I get the spirit and intent of what we're trying to protect ourselves from visually, but not knowing what the actual facility and design looks like and what lot they would like to have put that on. I don't know how we.
Well, they're gonna have to come to planning commission anyway. So I mean, it's not like you're gonna not get a chance to talk about it. I don't know why she,
I mean, if they took a mile, they had a whole mile down this road, Center Road, all the way from Wilson to Vienna. And there was nothing along here. And they wanted to put 10 acres, but they wanted to put it, whatever, 300 feet off the road and all the way for the whole mile. But they would only have to go about 200 feet by a mile. It would be narrow and long. So yeah, we achieved it. You're looking at it from Vienna Road. You're only looking at 200 feet from Vienna Road. Yeah, but you're looking at a mile of it when you go down this road. So it would be difficult to defend one way or another. I understand what we're trying to do, but if they need 500,000-600,000 square feet to put to put one of these. I'm assuming they don't want it long and narrow. It's probably gonna be more of a square type thing. Which is probably gonna be,
So like the utility beds, it would be outdoors, so they have no building. It's just it's,
shipping containers on
yeah,
that
shipping containers out in the field
limestone.
on top of, yeah, probably something like that.
And quite frankly, what we're trying to defend from is, I don't wanna look at that, but that's where our screening comes into play.
Yeah, it wouldn't matter.
Proper screening and vegetation or earth berms, which I was always in favor of, so you can't see it at all.
Well, I can attest to 8 foot high, non-visible fencing because they don't want to see cannabis plants.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just the state. That's 8 foot tall fence all around it.
We can take it out completely.
I think,
This is just something-
I think that one is,
Well, the line ahead of it addresses the rest of the building. One up.
Yeah.
I mean, there's quite an extensive there on number one.
You could save it for data centers later, because they do it inside of a building. They build huge buildings.
okay.
I'm okay with that, taking that one out, number two.
Take a number 2 and leave number 1.
Yeah, leave number one for right now, because it
What page are you on?
9.
And below.
Yeah, they're suggesting you keep smaller. That's why she put that in there, because she suggested you put the smaller construction buildings near the front and the massive ones at the back of the property. And then in that application, that's why she's suggesting 300 feet. I mean, I can see why it kind of melts together, because she's saying you'd be narrower on the smaller buildings in the front.
I mean, if it's shipping containers, they're about 8 feet, roughly 8 feet wide by 20 or 40
Yeah.
feet long.
So you could have as many of those. I mean, if you put them side by side, you could have, 300 feet of them.
40 feet apart,
So,
which probably works to their advantage to reduce heat buildup.
yeah, and isolation, if you have a problem.
Also dropping them off because that's the size of one.
Yeah.
If you have.
Oh, yeah.
Dropping them off.
That's
We
good.
look for shipping container buildings because of that. It's so simple to set it down.
Yeah. They're pretty cool. All right, so what did we decide? We're gonna take that out, number two?
Take number 2 out and leave number 1. Take the entire section 8 out. Say number 1 just deals strictly with having smaller buildings and lower buildings in the front. If you gotta have a taller one, then it's progressively taller to
Yeah.
go back.
It's just for them. I mean, when they're coming up with their site plan, they'll give them some general guidelines of what we want.
You may end up with buildings, they're all equal height.
Yeah, it could be.
Matter.
Well,
You
yeah.
don't want an enormously tall one in the front and all the shorter ones behind.
Actually, I changed my mind.
Like it
I
now.
think we should leave both 1 and 2.
If you're keeping one,
Because we're this is all just for ongoing discussion
Yeah,
with them.
Mhm.
So when they say this, we have the flexibility, but this is a starting. I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Okay, because it does kind of fit in with one. That, okay, if you're gonna put the small building in front, that's how big you're gonna make it. So it kind of works together, so, all right.
Okay, so that'll stay.
Are we there yet, Andy?
Last one, issuance and compliance with permits. What we did was a section where we were giving them 5 years to begin building. And our normal permits and stuff with our building department and anything with planning is usually 1 year, and then it's renewable. That's in our ordinance already, in our zoning ordinance. so that they, you take the 5 years out and just make it 1 year. Because all other uses are 1 years. It's from approval to construction starts within 5 years. And her suggestion is to be consistent with the rest of our zoning ordinances is when you approve a building permit, you know, or say, planning approves the land use, it's for 1 year. To,
Yes,
I'm gonna say is, we just went through it with the cell tower. They had 1 year to start construction of the cell tower and they didn't, so they had to repeat the process again. They could have got extensions.
that's,
but
yeah, that was my point. You can renew, you could get an
Yeah.
extension
Yeah, you can get an extension,
If you-
but
if you apply.
if you don't apply 1 year to do it and you're done, then you go through the process again.
Yeah, I think that's consistent with the building permit process. You get 1 year to show progress. No progress, you get pay for another permit. So, I mean, I think that's in line with the building permitting process.
Yeah, we had it in there 5 years on the sheet like that.
Except for farmers, they can build whatever the hell they want.
That's our license.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
I don't know, this one's kind of strange. We want people to apply to build a house. We want to get started within a year and get moving on it, because we'll have to build houses. This one I'm a little torn on. I'm leaning the other way.
Oh,
Once
I
your
see.
permit is approved, you have up to 500 years to start.
Okay.
Yeah, but then you're, you know, it's perpetually hanging out there anytime they want to start it. They don't have to start it today. They can start it tomorrow.
That's true.
If you put 1 year on it and they don't come get an extension, as processes change, then you've got an opportunity to review it again and maybe put stricter, by then maybe you've tweaked your ordinance, for something stricter, something less restrictive, either way.
Well, and the problem we've had with that with building is we've had a guy that starts a house and it's 15 years later and he hasn't got to the siding yet. He's been living in it, but he hasn't got to the siding. And thus that process became expedited because of such cases.
Yeah, I can understand that. I don't anticipate once they started one of these.
Yeah, no, that's
They
good.
want to get it, they want to get it done, get it operational, there's money in the budget and all that, it's a little different.
Yes.
But I'm okay, we want to rush them to hurry up and put the batteries in and. Let's rush.
Well, we want, like I say, we want to see something happen and then,
Plus we could start taxing them that way, so
Well.
get some,
well, like I say, and what if the technology changes? What if the restrictions change? We find out, you know, these are worse than what we ever imagined and you've had multiple, fire, now you're
That's a
going to
good
change
point.
your setback.
No, that's a good point.
You know.
If technology changes or we learn a lot and then they didn't do it within a year, then we're giving ourselves the option of a tougher review on round two, should they reapply.
Mhm.
All right, 1 year.
Okay. The other part she had is that, the amount, the attorney would need to review the amount for a hosted community agreement. We put in there similar to 2,000 per megawatt. Her suggestion was to just have the attorney review the amount to see. But there again,
This is an application fee.
no, this was similar to solar. It's on page 10, number 8.
So this was a fund for, I don't really get so a fund to fight?
No, this is just the gravy money that we get.
Okay,
It's similar to what we just went through with
I got
the,
you.
you're in the process of with solar right now, negotiating a host agreement per megawatt.
What do they call that money? I mean, what's it called? Money, what is it?
Host community agreement.
Inconvenience fee.
Inconvenience fee?
Supposed to be for like improvements to the community. I will say that I've seen some local processes and they sometimes set up grant programs. There's like recurring funds that they get every year.
Yeah.
They put it to like parks and stuff. So it can be more than like MPSC, they only do it the one time, but like there's some recent local ones that approve some solar and they're gonna get yearly community benefits.
The chief and I was talking about that at one of the meetings, that, yeah, he had heard of one. It gets an annual stipend to the fire department annually, every year, from one of these type of agreements.
Yeah, I don't remember if it was Saline. Might be the one that's getting an annual fee. For theirs, one of them was, because one of them got a small fire rig because they did not have that type of equipment, and then it went from there to a stipend every year,
Well, that's not big money.
you know, for the fire.
If it's a proposal of 125 megawatt project, solar project, 125 times $2,000 per megawatt is $250,000. And I like the idea because we're gonna have to take our existing nice areas and make them more attractive for families who wanna go to offset the undesirable effect of wherever this other stuff goes. So a one-time $250,000 over the course of something that goes decades, I'm more inclined to say a 50,000, instead of $250,000 once a year, $50,000 that we're gonna use for our parks and recreation and bike paths.
Yeah, well, I also thought, this would be a good opportunity to, and I don't know if that comes under the host agreement area or what, but what I would like to see maybe in that negotiation is a refurbing of the local fire station here. Because you could tie that right into, this battery thing is gonna require new equipment. This station needs work, probably $1 million worth. Would bring it up, maybe 1.5, would bring it up. It's pretty old. I mean, it was built by residents and it's been upgraded once. So anyways, and it's the same idea, but I'm saying this is an argument that I went
So
to.
instead of $250,000 goes away fast. An annual permit holder shall enter the host community agreement with the township within 90 days after issuing the permit. Host community agreement shall require that upon commencement of the operation, the energy facility owner must pay the township $100,000 per year in the nameplate capacity located within the township. A project of this scale, $100,000 is small, but it means a lot to us. And if it is $1 million and the township chooses to save that money for accumulate it for 10 years and put it all into the fire station, so be it.
I like that. I like that, and I think that's a sellable argument that we could use, in negotiations at that point.
Putting it to megawatts is a good idea because, like that one potential is like 240, some of these.
Okay, that's just as easy.
Just work it out in the numbers, yeah.
Second here.
We want it to be an annual
Yes.
fee to start with, and then the last line, the payment can be for police, fire, public safety, or other infrastructure.
There you go.
It's already tied in there.
Yep, it says public safety, then, yep, that's fine.
But it doesn't say annual. We didn't specify annual.
Okay, it's gonna be more like $1,000 per megawatt. You wanna do 125 megawatts, it's $112,500. 125,000.
Yeah, I'd like to get to the 100,000.
Yeah, that puts us at 125,000. No, we're only gonna be 50 megawatts. Okay, it's $50,000. It's $1,000 per megawatt.
$1,000 per megawatt.
$1,000 per megawatt.
Annually, though.
Annually.
Instead of 2,001
Yes,
times.
it's
Yeah.
it's $1,000 per megawatt.
I like that.
You could think about putting that inflation escalator too, because $1,000 now.
40 years,
save
40
$1,000.
years.
Yeah, I
Years.
mean,
For years, I don't know, it's up to you.
I think this is more fun than you thought it was gonna be, didn't it?
You can base it off of percentage of, how much are they gonna generate? Like, just say it's a tax of 8% of what power you for the year, because as prices fluctuate, changes, but it's that percentage.
Yeah,
It's a good
and I think we can achieve the same thing. I mean, things don't change that much. Inflation's at 2.7%, but the dollars per megawatt to be jointly reviewed once every 5 years. That's not cumbersome. That's reasonable.
You get all,
It should-
Good idea though, because they make hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, this is like, these monies that they're paying, it's rounding errors.
Yeah, I think that's probably doable if you, as long as we got it,
Well,
so you know coming in.
So do we want to suggest maybe that this host community agreement is 5-year term with renegotiated every 5 years? You know, must be.
I thought that, but we gotta be careful with that. I don't want to give the thing that it could expire after 5 years.
Oh, I see.
So the way we defend against this is that it's two-part. There's no, we took the two-part away. It's to be paid $1,000 per megawatt
Annually.
upon completion of the project on an annual basis. The dollar per megawatt figure is to be jointly reviewed once every 5 years to accommodate inflationary pressures.
You get all that, Andy?
Got it.
Sweet.
The dollar figure, not the, yeah,
No, dollar per
Nope.
megawatt to be reviewed jointly every 5 years to accommodate inflation.
we're talking $1,000 per.
It starts at 1,000. 5 years from now, it might be 1,050.
And it could go the other way. They could, they could say that it, it's not outputting or it's not doing what we thought. So
Well, and they might downsize it only based on demand.
Well, actually, yeah, that's where you say nameplate capacity, because what you're talking about, actual capacity, is an issue. As the facility ages, it will have a lower capacity. That's why the state ties it to the nameplate.
nameplate capacity, that's
So if
good.
you're rated 125 megawatts, that
Good wording.
Yeah.
even if you're only producing 30.
But I like the annual way better than the one time.
So we're reviewing it
Every 5 years.
every 5 years. It's the
And
annual.
it's basically just gonna be, it's just gonna be inflation. If inflation's been 3%, so it's 1,000, it's $1,000 and it starts off. And it's gonna be $1,159 for megawatt 5 years.
That's nice. Yeah, what else you got, Kevin?
I'm at the end of Caitlin's
No way.
comments. Well, she only had, after we went through a lot of it and looked at things to chop off, she took out, like I say, she put some stuff in there, the red line stuff, she added in automatically from the first draft you've seen where it did the different land uses and stuff. We actually dropped, when we got all done, we dropped 1 page off. Instead of being 12 pages, it's 11.
You have no idea how offended I am, but I got over it pretty quick. So in light of this, I think everybody's really enthused about all of this. Would it be okay if we went over all this again?
Yeah, I mean, I'll have her leave another. Want to do it tonight or you want to wait another meeting?
Just send me the Zoom version,
Well, I had one thing to kind of add when you're talking about the fire suppression or whatever. These are being built in areas that don't have water lines. Someone was saying you have the tanker truck.
Correct.
I mean, should that be an infrastructure they're forced to install for safety? I mean.
Well, some of the wording in the.
The fire station and the fire hydrant or the trucks need to be run, but if you don't have water pipeline there.
He did have a
You need to
couple
put
of
it-
notes in there about a tank or a storage on site.
Like a water storage.
Yeah, he had that in there that we could.
I mean, we're gonna cut and paste that, but honestly, we're just guessing. Does it take 5,000 gallons of water or 5 million gallons of water?
I mean, just
We don't know.
if they have to install a pipe in a pump house, then let them install it. Then you have that available to the property around it to tap into.
Yeah, the International Fire Code is pretty extensive on commercial applications. So there's a lot in there. I
I
think
would think that they would have a well dug on the property and
Well, they-
have their own water source available.
The chief's bullet point in his recommendations, number 5. I'll just read it real quickly. It says, where public water systems are unavailable or determined inadequate by the Clio Area Fire Authority. So he's gonna check the water. The applicant may be required to provide alternative water supply systems, including but not limited to on-site water storage tanks, other approved fire protection water supply methods. And underneath that, the applicant shall provide a fire flow analysis prepared by a qualified engineer when requested by the township engineer or fire authority. And water supply systems and fire department access shall remain operational and accessible at all times, including during winter weather conditions.
Yeah,
So he's already looking at.
yeah, so you're gonna have to have an engineer tell you how much water you need.
Right,
And-
right, and they're gonna have to go through, the chief's gonna be involved and determine how much water. And, like I say, his suggestion is on-site water storage tank.
Well, that's what I was thinking, because I could see this turning, but he's covered that with the winter that they put 2 retention ponds and they say, well, it's the water, all you gotta do, pump it on the system, but it's gotta be available year round.
Correct. And we talked about that right off the get-go.
So he's done a good job of protecting us, Kevin, as far
Yeah.
as protecting us. Public water, adequate water and all that. In defense of the company, which is gonna sound strange coming from me. They got millions of dollars in assets in these facilities. They don't want to lose all that either.
No.
They're also gonna want to make sure that they have adequate fire suppression access. So I think this is an easy sell either way.
Mhm.
They don't want to put this where it's gonna sit and burn up and we don't have enough water to get to it or whatever it takes to put it out. So I don't think that's complicated.
Yeah, and like I said, he was good enough to go through the entire rough ordinance that we had and
Oh, yeah.
the latest draft and then compare it with his IFC book and I think it's great to involve him and it's get their, and we've tied it back enough to where they are gonna be super involved in anything that should one of these projects come. They're gonna be involved in the water issue especially. Okay. I guess that's, I will get with Caitlin again and have another extended phone conversation. And get us something for
You're getting close.
next month, maybe to
I
bring back.
think we're putting together a good solid robust.
Yeah.
Not super easy.
Okay, we'll end discussion on that then, if everybody's happy for the time being. And we'll open the floor for public comments for 3 minutes, if anybody wants to talk some more. Okay, I'll close public board member comments.
No, but I was just gonna comment that, we got the moratorium in place now, right? So
For data centers.
for data centers, so it doesn't help the battery thing, but once we don't have any concrete applicants for battery at this point anyway, do we?
No.
Okay. No, I don't have anything else.
Gary, first of all, I think, thanks for staying through the whole meeting. I know it's, normal that your topic was addressed and you leave, but it means a lot that you stayed and listened and through the last hour and a half. Stephanie, as always, we couldn't do it without you and appreciate all your hard work. Nobody in this township puts in as much time as Stephanie does on these topics and feel gratitude for that.
Absolutely.
My only comment is, yes, thanks for everybody for hanging through this thing with us. We will get to an end eventually. And in regards to not having a question was raised to have a moratorium on battery storage systems. And the word from MTA, and it was reiterated in the recent Court of Appeals settlement that if you have a moratorium on battery storage systems or solar, it's automatic to the MPSC. You don't even have to talk to them. That was part of that court settlement was brought out in that. So one board member did come to me and say, we got this moratorium ordinance, let's do one for batteries. And I said, no, we can't do that. It's not,
I don't think it's necessary in this situation. We just needed some time to.
Yeah.
Put our ordinance together.
well, I think they were just trying to maybe assist us or thinking ahead of time. Do you want us to put a moratorium on batteries? No, we're going the wrong direction if we do that.
And quite frankly, I think this ordinance, any company wanting to install a battery energy storage system would view this as maybe somewhat, in my opinion, pretty workable. I think it would be considered pretty workable, maybe in some areas mildly more restrictive than they would like, but much less than it could be.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty accommodating.
Yeah, I mean, that goes back to the, wheel, the workable and compatible ordinance. But that being said, no more comments from me. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay, we're done. Thank you.
Great.
All right. Okay, Stephanie, if you want a copy of what the chief has sent me. I got it, if you want to read it.
Have a good night.
Abby, tell me when that's turned out.
Back to work and give up the state.
There you go.
Other than all that, Mike, hold just for a second.